Welcome to World News by Denis Halandzovskyi. If you value calm, precise, and fact-based analysis of global developments, please subscribe, leave a comment, and share your thoughts. Today, we examine a significant shift within the Russian power structure, the rising influence of Dmitri Kozak, a longtime aide to President Vladimir Putin, in shaping Moscow's strategy toward Ukraine. Dmitri Kozak is a senior Russian political figure who has long served in Vladimir Putin's inner circle. Over the past 2 decades, Kozak has been associated with high-level administrative and political roles, typically trusted to implement sensitive strategic directives from the Kremlin. His career includes time in regional governance, federal administration, and oversight of key domestic priorities. Recently, Russian officialdom promoted Kozak to a position of heightened responsibility over matters connected to the war in Ukraine, particularly in how Moscow manages territories it has occupied and the administrative systems governing those areas. This shift signals a recalibration in Russia's approach, from focusing predominantly on battlefield tactics to prioritizing political and governance structures in contested regions. Observers note that this move aligns with a broader pattern in Russian strategy. As the conflict enters its third year without decisive outcomes on the battlefield, Moscow may be placing greater emphasis on long-term political control and integration of occupied territories. Kozak's strengths lie not in military command, but in bureaucratic coordination, negotiation management, and political oversight, skills that Moscow now appears to prioritize as battlefield dynamics remain protracted. Kozak's new role also suggests that the Kremlin is seeking to unify disparate elements of its war effort under a clearer central authority. By elevating a trusted aide with deep institutional knowledge, Putin may be signaling confidence in a shift toward governance-oriented strategy, one that blends political control with military activity. It is important to remember that in Russian political culture, appointments are also signals about internal priorities. Kozak's prominence may reflect Kremlin concerns about stabilizing territorial control, managing civilian populations under occupation, and projecting an image of political normalization even amid ongoing conflict. The increasing influence of Dmitry Kozak in shaping Russia's Ukraine policy carries several strategic implications. First, focusing on governance and administration indicates that Moscow may be preparing for an extended period of territorial dispute. Rather than seeking swift military resolution, Russia appears to be investing in systems that help sustain its hold over occupied areas. This could include efforts to integrate local bureaucracies, impose administrative norms aligned with Russian federal structures, and reduce resistance from local populations. Second, Kozak's role may influence how negotiations, if they occur, are framed. His position may involve preparing negotiation frameworks or administrative dossiers that Moscow would present in diplomatic settings. For Kiev and its allies, understanding Kozak's influence may be essential to interpreting Russian negotiation postures or apparent willingness to discuss settlements. Third, the move has symbolic resonance. Russia's leadership structure often communicates intent through appointments. Assigning a high-profile aide like Kozak to oversee Ukraine-linked governance matters highlights that the Kremlin sees the conflict not simply as a temporary military engagement, but as a prolonged geopolitical challenge requiring sustained political oversight. Internationally, this shift may sharpen Western analysis of Russian priorities. European and US officials monitoring the conflict could interpret Kozak's rise as a tactical evolution, a sign that Russia intends to double down on administrative control where it holds territory, even as military fronts remain contested. For Ukraine, this development underscores the complexity of its strategic environment. While battlefield resistance continues, the need to counter not just military pressure, but also political and administrative entrenchment in occupied regions becomes increasingly vital. Kyiv and its partners may need to adapt strategies that address not only territorial liberation, but also dismantling or countering governance structures that Moscow seeks to impose. Lastly, Kozak's elevation may influence internal Russian politics. With significant control over occupied territories, the resources he manages and the policies he implements could affect how the Russian public perceives the war's trajectory. Leaders capable of maintaining administrative order in contested regions may be seen domestically as stabilizing forces, reinforcing narratives that justify continued engagement. Thank you for watching this report on world news by Denis Halandzovskyi. If you found this analysis informative, please subscribe, leave a comment, and share your perspective. Independent, evidence-based reporting helps us understand the complex forces shaping modern conflict. Stay informed and see you in the next update.